I'll tell you this. You hit play. You hit play 210.
I'm recording.
Record.
Good evening and welcome to On the Real TV. I'm your host, Yolanda L. Robinson, and I'm joined with my co-host, Darren Freedom Green. I'll let him introduce himself as well. And tonight our guest is Mr. Paul Perez, candidate for mayor. So we're going to be sitting in, we're going to be talking with him. Well, should I say, Free's going to be the one really talking with him, because I really don't get too much into the politics. I'm into politics, but sometimes you got to step aside and you got to let grown men have the conversation. You know what I mean? You got to let them talk it out. And I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm willing to hand over the microphone and let y'all do what you do. But I'm going to do my introductions, and I'm going to sit back, and when it's time for me to chime in, y'all know I'm going to chime in. But I definitely want, to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for taking the time to join us. And we do this thing on the Real TV, and I'm going to ask you to do it. I need you to reintroduce yourself as only you can on the Real TV.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. It's a great pleasure that I'm here as a candidate for mayor of the city of Trenton. I am Paul Perez. People know me by now. People didn't expect me to be here, but guess what? Hello, I'm here.
Okay.
All right, once again, I'm Darren Freedom Green. It's good to have Paul in the house. We really want to be clear and concise about where we're going with it, so once we're done, people can know who you are, they can know where you're going, they can know your vision, your goals, your perspective, and why they should elect you as the next mayor of the city of Trenton. So talk a little bit about where you are right now in regards to where you come from. Talk a little bit about, so who is Paul Perez?
Thank you very much. Paul Perez is a regular guy. Paul Perez is the child that's sitting at home right now, wondering what's going to happen to him in his future. Paul Perez is the kid that didn't have anything. Okay, what we had was we had love.
Okay.
We had parents that loved us, who worked hard, who gave us principles, who created standards for us, and allowed us to dream, and then demonstrated to us how you achieve those dreams. So that's who Paul Perez is in its foundation. Then Paul Perez went out as a patriot, and he served his country. And I did that as a young man. When young men like me decided to serve time, I decided to serve my country. And the only thing I asked when I left was, can you please leave the city the way that I left it? So that when I come back home, after serving my country and going to 2 different combat tours, while everybody was here discoing and cha-chaing and everything else, I was in combat thinking about my home.
Yeah.
But it's very disappointing to see what I found. So that's Paul Perez in his career. And then I'm Paul Perez, the regular guy again. The guy who just wanted to come back home after serving his country and doing good things and contribute to his community. Can I contribute to the community? Can I find those kids who need it the most and provide them what was provided for me? And then somehow lift them up and help them and equal the playing field for them so that they can also be successful. That's what Paul Perez is.
Very well said. So let's talk a little bit about now. We know Paul Perez is an individual. Let's talk a little bit about Paul Perez, a political figure. What made you at this juncture in your life? Could be doing anything. What made you come back and say, you know what? Mayor of Trent's got my name on it. Talk a little bit about what inspired you to run for the mayorship.
What inspired me to become a candidate for mayor was, believe it or not, an easy decision to make. I saw a city that was leaderless. Okay. I saw people who held positions of authority but weren't leaders. Okay. That's a big difference. And because of their leaderlessness, there were many cascading effects that directly contribute to the poverty that we see in the city today. Okay? And in the poor decision making that we've seen time and time again, created concentrated poverty in this city, and then took away all the opportunities. And then they wonder why we find ourselves in this mess. And then there's some of them walking around saying, I got 20 years of municipal experience. You know what, do me a favor. Open that door.
Yeah.
Look left and right. Because that's what you're getting ready to get. That's 20 years of their experience. Never been nowhere, never did nothing. For nobody but themselves.
Well said. One of the biggest issues, of course, that jumps out at everyone is the public safety issues. Last year we had 41 murders. I think right now we're up to 13. I'm not sure of the count. But there clearly is an issue with violence, and we can go into the education. But right now, let's talk about day one. How does Paul Perez begin to change the paradigm and clear enigma of the violence that's going on and the comfort level of citizens with the violence in this city as our mayor?
Once I become the mayor, what will happen is instant credibility, first of all.
Okay.
We haven't had a mayor in a long time that people respect, number one. Because if you're involved in questionable activity, you can't set the example, period.
Okay.
Okay, period.
Yeah.
And then if you don't know how to properly use your resources to protect the public, you will have what you have today. Okay, so if I become the mayor, immediately the first thing I need to do is count my money. I need to know how much money I have.
Yeah, right.
Then I need to count my people. And I need to know how many people I have. Then I need to figure out what are the resources. And then I need to figure out who are the smart people out there that can help me. Right? Because I don't have all the answers. Bring that coalition together and start saying, how come we can't stop bullets from coming in train? Because we don't make any here.
No, exactly.
Or else we would have jobs. How come we can't stop guns from coming in here? Because we don't make any here. We would have jobs. We don't even cook the drugs that we find in our streets. So they're coming from somewhere. Playing on my military background, I would say, let's please stop the supply lines. Can we start doing that? High visibility patrols. Route 1, 29, 33, 206. Just a high presence. I'm not asking anybody to stereotype people and pull them over. High visibility. Make them think twice. Okay? Make them understand that now this city is being protected. While in the inside, we bring up what's called ceasefire. You know ceasefire. Everybody does. I had the pleasure of being taught at Harvard University by the founders of ceasefire in Boston, Massachusetts. And it's a good program. It works when you got the right people doing it. So we need a team. And that team looks like this. A competent mayor who understands his role. Clergy that gets involved. Parents, teachers, activists. People. We all need to get out there. And we need to engage these youth who have been left behind. I went to a meeting the other day and he said, I know you. I said, how do you know me? Because I saw you on Spring Street talking to the kids. And I said, because that's what I do. And guess what? We were there for about an hour and 15 minutes. We timed it. That was the only time I seen a police officer come around earlier than an hour. Okay? Because they wanted to know what I was doing on that corner.
Right.
And guess what I was doing? I was talking to the people who need it the most. And they will tell you, this is not what I want to do. If you take opportunity, please, Mr. Freedom, for 1 second, and put it in their hand, they will put down that weapon. Right? But we don't have that opportunity to give them. Right? So when you talk about public safety in Trenton, we don't need Rambo. What we need is opportunity.
Very well said. One of the other problems with public safety, which can probably be 1A, is the clear disconnect in between the police department and the community. And we've never had community policing here, which is a leading barrier. Talk a little bit about how you're going to begin to get us to move in that direction with the police department that's been depleted of its forces, a community that doesn't trust the police department, and an administration that seems to be doing its own. Talk a little bit about the initiation of connecting police with community as an administrator, as the CEO of this city.
Once again, what you have to do is you have to come in and immediately establish what's called standard values and performance. Okay? If you set the standard and you say, okay, everybody, let's get together. This is my vision. This is how I work. And this is why I want to work. And then you paint a picture that they find themselves in that vision. And then these are the standards by which you're going to be categorized or you're going to be measured upon. Okay? And then, so now you're starting to demonstrate what the example looks like that you want them to follow.
Okay.
Because you got to build trust first. And if you don't build trust, nobody's going to listen to you. That's the problem that we have. And if I'm the mayor and I'm studying in City Hall worrying about contracts, I'm not doing the right job. I need to be on the streets, knocking on the doors just like I'm doing right now, so that people can have the trust that I represent them. And then if I'm going to tell people to get out in the streets, I need to be there with them. Okay? So building that bridge, I would act as the bridge. But wait, you said something about police officers. Their morale is terrible. Down the drain. Okay? They don't have a contract, and they're behaving like it. Okay? We have been leaderless for quite a while now, right? And then everything that we know about the history about the director and the city council and the mayor and all this stuff has really truly affected us. 105 officers plus another 48 officers that retired and were not replaced. Those 105 officers are gone now.
Right.
So when people say to you, 50 officers I'm going to bring on, where are you going to get that money?
Right.
How long is it going to take to get them on the streets?
Right.
But we have 198 officers. What are they doing?
Good question. Good question. All right, let's go into a little bit about, you stated you were on Spring Street, and you talked really great and eloquently about providing opportunities. Trenton has a negative stigma attached to it. How do we begin to, as a mayor, begin to market and bring in corporate entities to begin to provide employment opportunities for the young people here who really do want to work, but just don't have it? How do we begin to change that dynamic and bring people who will invest in the city and bring employment opportunities for our young people?
Well, believe it or not, there are many organizations right now out there who are very interested in our youth. Many of them, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
at least that one. But I had an opportunity to meet with the New Jersey Philanthropic Organization who manage grants and awards and talk about arts, jobs, economic development, and apprenticeship for our youth. They're very interested in coming to the city. We even talked about the possibility of using examples like Baltimore, Boston, Philadelphia, New York, and San Francisco, where they currently have paid representatives on the county, where they advise the mayor, and then they provide funding to support opportunities for our youth. There's people who want to help this city, okay? And they understand the situation that we're in, but they don't want to do it with people who are not credible.
All right, we've touched on Perez, we've touched on using the individual, the political figure, we touched on public safety, we touched on infrastructure. Now you know we're going to hit the home run with the biggest piece of the puzzle, which is really the core mindsets. What's Paul Perez's vision? Clearly now one of the hot button topics is public education,
right,
and our charter schools.
Absolutely.
And there's clearly a war going on between charters coming in and we trying to solidify and rebuild our public educational system. Where are you at with either or, and what's your vision to rebuild a broken educational system in the city of Trenton?
Well, one point of clarity, what I'll say is, if you're doing something good, you stay on the team. Okay? But if you're not doing something good, you're no longer on the team.
All right.
So that's plain and simple.
All right.
But I come from the public schools. My children went to public schools. I know what the public schools can do. Also, the majority of our children are in the public schools. So I need to focus on where the majority of my children are right now. And I always go back to this, and please indulge just for a second.
Okay.
Our children are hungry.
Right.
Our children are homeless. Our children are abused. Our children are transient. Our children are sick. Our children live a life of violence, right? These are the types of problems that our children face on every day that they go home and play or try to play, whatever it is that they're trying to play, and then attend school. And then for somebody to come up with a system where you have a tombola and a number, and now they have to go to, the strain of hoping that that number comes out. We don't need to do that to our children.
All right.
We need to focus on how do we look at the possibility of creating a system that truly looks at behavior, at mental issues, at homelessness, at providing parents assistance so that they can get educated, parenting skills, give children an avenue where they can escape and not go necessarily to drugs, either through music, art, or some other escape, maybe even clergy.
Okay. We have in Trenton a phenomenal area that we haven't really touched on, and that's the arts community, the arts and culture community. We have Sage Coalition. Two of the biggest events that happen in this city is Art All Night and the Trenton African American Pride Festival. What's Paul Perez as mayor going to do to begin to market and push these major events so that we can begin to have positive imagery when it says, we are Trenton,
Right.
Trenton I am,
Right.
from Trenton. And these two major areas that it really bring 10 to 30,000 people into the city. How is Paul Perez going to be an ambassador for those two events?
The events are already successful, as you stated. So now what we have to do is tap into how do we make it successful for our people who live here. Okay. So how do we surround those events with small businesses that can sell their wares too? How do we provide them an opportunity to engage that 10,000 plus of surge of people that come into our cities? We need to create an environment that's inclusive of everyone. Not just because you signed an application and you became part of that event, but you need to be around that event to expand from it and demonstrate that Trenton has more than just that. So that would be one. I think the other thing is we need to tap into the 32 cultures that we have here and show them off and demonstrate that we are truly inclusive, right? Because that would be a great thing. And then what we truly need to do is continue to invite everyone across the country to come to Trenton and ask them, are there other things that we can be doing that can help us? Don't ever stop asking for money, because there's a lot of people that want to give you that money. You just need to ask them. Don't ever stop thinking about the people who are currently here, invested in this city, who need opportunity. And if you got music, you're going to have a security guard there, because I might want to play it.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about vision.
Okay.
The downtown area. Clearly we have a number of state workers who won't come in.
Right.
And I always say it jokingly, but it's real. Until we really clean that up and stop the New Jack City mentality that's going on down there, how do we begin to cultivate a cultural hub? And we're the capital city. Downtown area should have shops. It should have a cigar place. It should have places where the state workers can invest that money here, and big corporations come here. Maybe Old Navy. Once at one time had McDonald's and Geno's, and the Mayfair was there. I don't know if I'm taking you back a little bit.
I was there.
Okay, let me find that.
I can tell you.
But how do we begin to rebuild that downtown area so that we can utilize our geographical position, being in between Philadelphia and New York, and make people really want to come back to Trenton?
Well, once again, if you have a mayor that doesn't go downtown,